Good evening. Good evening. It's your girl, Jocelyn Hairston, and welcome to Navigating Now. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Tonight, I am excited as always about my guest. You all, if you were with me last week, I had Richard and Darlene Thompson on, and it was just such a rich conversation that I had to do a part two. So tonight we are going to be doing part two of navigating love in marriage. Welcome, Richard and Darlene.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for
Hi.
having us back.
Hey.
Look, thank you for agreeing to be back with us. I know we got so many great comments, and I know so many people were just blessed by our conversation. And I can't wait to continue it tonight and get to the good. Although it's all good. I am, just to recap, Richard and Darlene will be married 20 years this year. Amen for that.
Yes.
They are the leaders of the Sacred Love Marriage Ministry at Word of Faith Love Center in East Point, Georgia. And they are such a great couple. And I'm going to say, the reason why I say that is because they let the things that they have been through, first of all, not taint who they are as people and as a couple. But more importantly, they so willingly share their truths. They share the lessons that they've learned. They share their love with other couples. And that's married couples. They talk to singles. They talk to people that are engaged. And they just there's just no shame in their sharing. And I just really, really love them for that. And this is going to be another good one. So I'm not going to tarry anymore. Look, last week, just to give you a really quick recap, we did talk a lot about conflict and how to resolve conflict in relationships. And here are just a few points from last week that I want to make sure we talk about. First of all, when there is an issue, you have to acknowledge that there is an issue. That's step one.
Yes.
Step two is taking responsibility and ownership for your part in that conflict. And three is seek God first before confronting your spouse. And I would say once you have that conversation with your spouse, and I'm saying confront, but I mean just bringing forth the issue, that confrontation, even if things don't go like you want them to go, then you better go back and seek God again. And just keep seeking him until you all can come together, and keep talking until you all can come together and resolve whatever the conflict is. Another point that we got a lot of talk on was, so we talked a lot about submission and what it means, but the thing is, the main thing is that, look, submission is not about controlling a person, and it's not about being controlled. So you should never feel like you're being controlled by that person. And if you're the one, that wants to be submitted to, check yourself and make sure that you are not trying to control a person, your spouse. And the last point that I'm going to make for our recap is that marriage is a vault. Lord, my God, marriage is a vault. And that means that it's a sacred place between you and your spouse that no one can enter unless you give them the key. And both of the husband and the wife need to be able to insert the key. You see those movies where it takes two people to open the vault or whatever. That's how your marriage needs to be. Now, we also talked a lot about sex, finance, communications. It was so much there. I'm just going to suggest that you go back to part one and check it out. And you can check it out in my Facebook Live, on my personal page, or you can go to my YouTube channel, and that's Jocelyn Hairston, to view that. All right, lovely Thompsons, where are we going to get started today? Oh, first of all, did I miss anything? Do you need to add anything to what I said to the recap?
No, that's good. You're good.
Well, and you did say that the marriage is a sacred place, but not only is it a sacred place, but it has to be a safe place.
Ooh, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
The vault not only is it a sacred place, but it's a safe place. because you have to be able to bring things to your spouse without feeling as though they're going to condemn you for what you just said.
Or attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack that just a little bit. How does a couple create a safe place and space?
First, you gotta have the conversation so that you both know what safe is, what safe means, and what it looks like to you. So that means uncovering, what my triggers are, and letting each other know what not to say, and making sure that timing um is established, that it's timing is of essence when you're trying to or when you're in conflict. But you got to have the conversation with each other so that you can be open and honest about what hurts, you understand what triggers you, and just what you're not having.
Yeah. And these things should be done, like I said, when there's, when you're in a good space, just during your, just when you spend a little quality time together. Let's go ahead and set some ground rules as far as dealing with our conflict.
Yeah.
You tell me,
That's good.
what I do not need to do that will offend you during our conversation. I'll let you know what not to do or say to me that would offend me, that may cause me to shut down. But you got to set these ground rules when things are going well. And hopefully, you might be able to play with it a little bit, but anything that can ease the tension, before the conflict hits, that the ground rules are set and they're agreed upon, and this is
Early.
how we're going to, confront one another. So there's no disrespect, and and we can keep the conversation going without offending one another, causing more of a conflict.
I love that. I love that. Go ahead, Darlene.
Can I add to that? Offense looks like yelling, raising your voice, pointing your finger, putting your hands on the person, even if it's just poking them, in the shoulder, or, all of that is offensive. And it causes, each of us, one of us at least, to shut down, and you're going to lose each other in the moment, or you're going to lose that opportunity. So
Yeah.
you got to talk about these things and agree that you will not do this, that, or the other.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. So setting safe place means to just talk about what hurts you, what triggers you, and to just be open about it too. You got to be open about it.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
you don't have to be put on a facade of strength or nothing bothers me, but being open about it. And I love that setting ground rules on what your conversations will look like, and then agreeing upon them.
Yes.
Like really agreeing upon them. I love that. And understanding what offense looks like, and yelling, pointing, touching in an aggressive or what may be seemingly aggressive way. That's good. That's good. And so one of the things that I was thinking about, and we talked about a little bit about at the very end of part one, was this thing about supporting one another. And that, even when I think about a safe place, when your spouse is going through something, they really need a safe space that they can go to release, to unleash, to be able to get the support and even the stretching sometimes, because sometimes we have to stretch a person to support them.
Yes.
And I know and I really want to talk about this because it's been crazy, right? Things can always happen no matter what's going on in the world, whether there's no COVID or anything like that. But I know this last year has been difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people have been furloughed, or either had to reduce their hours, or even got laid off.
Yeah.
People have parents and children, and have passed from COVID. And it's kind of one thing. Death can be hard anyway, but when it's like this unknown thing that attacks from nowhere, that can add even more stress and strain. And so how should couples support one another when one of them in particular is maybe going through a hard time?
I always my heart and mind always goes to the marriage vows. In the vows, it says for better or for worse, and for worse, in sickness and in health, in the good times and the bad. The marriage vows are in place to give us um, an example, not an example, but what's the word? They're in place to give you
Boundaries or
guide, their
a
guide,
guide. Yeah.
their guide for us to help us do this thing called marriage.
Yeah.
So when you said I do, you said I do to if he loses his job and you're the only one working. You said I do to if he gets in a car or she gets in a car accident and breaks a leg or an arm, and now they're limited in their abilities or they're paralyzed. You said I do to these things. And that's what makes marriage so important and so serious um, to get into, is because you're just not signing up for somebody to hang out with. You're signing up for a lifetime of love, a lifetime of support, a lifetime of sacrifice. That's what marriage is all about. God gave his only begotten son. He gave up.
Yeah.
He gave up so that we could live. And then Jesus gave his life. They didn't take it, he gave it for the joy that was set before him, us, so that we could live. So, in that example, we have to sacrifice, we have to support, we have to stay in the game, even though it doesn't look all glorified like we want it to, even though things have changed considerably from the way it was when we were dating, or the first 1 to 5 years when we were first married. You signed up for it when you said I do, and that's a serious commitment that we made. So when you say I support you, I support my husband when he wants to start a business, I'll support him. But on the other flip side of that, if I believe that the Holy Spirit is telling me not now, then I should be able to voice that um, opinion or decision, and we talk about it. So it would be wrong for him to say that I don't support him. No, I didn't just say don't do it. I'm saying not now, or let's do some things first, in order to make this thing, a more secure or a good move for us right now. Those kind of things you really have to be careful with and really hear your spouse. Support means if my job requires that I have to work late, support to me looks like, okay, then maybe dinner will be started for us tonight. Or maybe my husband will take care, of his dad, who's, we're caregivers for. He'll go ahead and knock out those things. So when I get home, I don't have to worry about that. Support looks like um, being willing to listen to the ideas that your spouse has, and then saying, you know what, let's take this to prayer, before you make a rash decision. You may think it's the worst decision in the world, but it's important to your spouse that you hear them. The support looks like being a good listener, being patient. You understand what I'm saying?
That's real good. That's good, babe. To me, support starts the moment you say I do. You gotta continuously take inventory of your spouse. And in that inventory, we always say you got to continuously have this conversation, this communication, because you will learn that, your spouse will tell you what their heart's desires are, what they need as life goes on. But you got to have an ear to hear and a heart to really want to hear what they're saying and the changes that they're going through. Um, I say support starts the moment you say I do, because life happens every day. Things happen every day. The good, the bad, and the ugly happen every day. And you got to know your spouse. You got to hear your spouse in order to be able to give them what they need at any given time. If you wait for the time to come upon you before you start trying to get support, you usually end up trying to get support in the way that you know, in the way that you want it, and not the way that your spouse needs it. But if you know what's going on every day, then when something happens, you have a better idea as to how they're going to react and how you need to, respond with them, and a better idea as to what they need during that time. I really do try to pay attention to my spouse. I'm not always successful, but I think I give it a pretty good shot.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, and that's good. We have to pay. Those were some good nuggets, guys. We have to pay attention to our spouse and continually get to know them.
Yeah.
We are all evolving, hopefully, every day in our lives, which means we're evolving. Because we're evolving as people, then our marriage also needs to evolve.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do if you find, I don't know if you've had this as an issue or had to talk to couples that do, that you feel like maybe one spouse feels like I'm growing, and it doesn't feel like my spouse is growing either on the same level or desires to grow to another level. What do I do about that? Because I don't want us to grow apart. Or you may find yourself in the middle of that, where I know you can grow apart for a lot of different reasons, but specifically, how do you handle that then if one wants to, if it's growing and the other one appears not to be?
Well, I think you have to be very sensitive to where your spouse is. Most people are not on the same level spiritually, or even intellectually,
or even emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Or emotionally. So you have to be sensitive to that. So part of knowing your spouse is being able to discern that. And actually, it's not even about discerning it. You can see, you can hear, and you know where each other are. Your responsibility is to first accept it. And then in accepting it, it has to be, I would have to, just using us for an example, it would be key for me in this relationship to accept Rick where he is, to understand where he is, and allow him to be who he is. Not try to change him, not try to push him, not try to, help, not try to be or insert any catalyst to make him, grow faster or be better than where he is. That's not my responsibility. That's God's responsibility. So I'm going to take that thing to prayer. You'll hear us talk about prayer a whole lot, because prayer definitely does change things, and it is God who brings the increase. You know what I'm saying? So if we're not in the same place, I'm careful, and spouses, be careful and sensitive to the fact, so that they don't feel like you're judging them, so they don't feel like you think less of them. You understand? There's so many, those things have to be taken into consideration in order for them to grow, in order for them to be better. Because my husband said last week, nothing matters more to him than how I see him. What matters to us is us, not the world and not the outside world, but it matters. What matters to us most is how we see each other. You understand? So if I am able to help in a way, then I can ask, honey, I can offer suggestions. I can ask him. You understand? He may not be in a place where he wants to, divulge that, because sometimes pride gets in the way, ego gets in the way, and I have to be sensitive to that. Any spouse has to be sensitive to that.
And we say this not lightly, because that is definitely a process. I know we've gone through, especially earlier in our marriage, where that was not the case. We were going back and forth at each other, trying to change one another. But I can tell you right now that my happiness has really come because she has allowed me to be who I am. And in my freedom, I want to be more of a husband to her because she allows me just to be, like I said, who I am.
On the other hand, God will step in and something like, y'all down to one car and you got to drive everywhere together. And now you have to communicate with each other, stuck in the same car, and you learn how to listen. Your discernment kind of grows and it gets a little bit keener. And so you don't really want to have to let God step in and manage that thing. I think you need to choose to to listen and to know your spouse and to be more of a help to them than a hindrance to them.
Marriage is definitely something that God keeps you on that wheel. We are clay, and He uses our spouse to change us and to show us our weaknesses and our strengths and show us where we need to be changed at. So saying I do, being married, especially to this one, has kept me on that wheel, has kept me changing all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's changed me for the best, even though every once in a while, I think when I'm going around that wheel, I see some holes every once in a while that has to be filled. And she lets me know that there's some flaws right here that needs to be taken care of. So
With grace.
with grace.
With grace.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing too, even this whole thing with grace, because someone may say, well, why can't I just say what I want to say how I want to say it? You know me. You know how I was when you married me. Why do I have to always sugarcoat stuff with you? Why do I have to, what would you say to that person?
Whew, girl, I used to be that girl when I was this girl right here. I said what I meant. I meant what I said. I knew, I was that girl. And Rick wasn't having it. I used to drop a few cuss words every now and then, and he wasn't having that either. But what you'll quickly learn is that being that girl gets you nowhere. It actually sets you back. It's not pleasing to God. It's ugly. It's ugly in public. It's ugly behind the scenes. And so Rick being a mirror to me helped me to see and actually condemned me, a bit, because he has never to this very day, in all these 20 something years that we've been together, he has never cursed. I can probably count the times on two hands in all these years that he has really raised his voice. Now, we've had a few knockdown dragouts, and I'll tell y'all about that one day when the Holy Spirit leads. Not today. But we've had some very heated arguments before, but he kept it respectful. I had to learn to be that girl. You know what I'm saying? My marinade, my big mom and them and folk in my neighborhood were cussers, and they said a lot of words that I grew up hearing. Not my mother. Mother had a couple of words that she said. They weren't really bad, but but being exposed to that kind of life, I brought that into this marriage. So when I got angry, I showed out. And that didn't work for me too well. It worked, it worked a little bit, but it didn't work together for our good. You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta put those things under control. Why? Because you love your spouse and you're not, here to hurt them. You know what I'm saying? The word of God says love bears all things, it endures all things, and love. Love makes a difference. So love will make you act right. It'll make you stand down. It'll make you take a knee. It'll make you take a knee. And then taking that knee, you'll back up, close your mouth, rethink things, and remember that I do love this person. So let me try something different.
And just because you think you can does not mean that you should.
Yeah, it's word for that.
Amen for that. Just because somebody write that down. Just because in the comment section, just because you think you can does not mean that you should.
All right.
And also put down in there, love will make you take a knee.
Will take a knee.
Will make you take a knee.
Take a knee.
I know there was yeah, I love movies, right? And why can't I remember the name of the movie? It was a movie with
Will Smith
and Jaden and Jaden. And what was the name of the movie?
I can't think of the name of it, but that's where I got it from.
Earth, something about Earth. I'll get it by the time we finish, I'm sure. But Jaden plays his son in the movie, and he was really wanting to, be big and do the right things, and always, but he would get very discombobulated, or like he couldn't think straight, or just get really upset. Really, that's really what it was.
Yeah.
To your point, he would just get really upset.
Yeah.
And Will would say,
"Take a knee,
son. Take a knee. Take a knee." And that is right. Sometimes we need to do that. And so for the other person on the receiving end, so that you don't, try to go back at them, not that you can say take a knee, but that might become a phrase that you can use, babe. Take a knee.
You can.
Yeah.
Babe,
you can. And it diffuses things. I think that was an excellent.
See, that's something that has to be put in place during those calm times. Like if you're taking me to some place and I say, baby, take a knee. Don't get upset with me. It's just a way for us to get back on even ground, common ground.
Yeah, it works.
And if you agree to it, then fine. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So it was After Earth. That was the name of the movie.
That's it.
After Earth with Will and Jaden Smith. Take a knee.
Take a knee. Exactly.
And breathe.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's good. This question pops in my mind, kind of along the same lines. I had a buddy years ago who said that the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is selfishness. And I thought about that when you all were talking about even like the whole support thing and all of that. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I know that really, if you love someone, you're going to give to them and you're going to be selfless with them. What are your thoughts on that comment, that the opposite of love is not hate, the opposite of love is selfishness?
Exactly. That hits it right on the head. Because when you love somebody, like you say, you're selfless and you're thinking more highly of your spouse or highly of others than you do yourself.
Right.
So the opposite of that is continuously thinking about yourself. It's all about you. And whatever it is to please you, that's what we're going to do, So, and that's not taking your spouse into consideration.
That's not love.
That is the opposite of love.
And how do you, I guess it's probably the same answer for everything. Like, as the person on the receiving end of that, like you realize, okay, my husband or my wife is really selfish and I don't like it. I guess you can just tell them, hey, you're doing this, and this is how I see this unfolding.
But when you do have that conversation, you've got to let them know how it makes you feel.
Yes.
Just telling them what they're doing usually gets you, it makes the process of healing harder and longer. But when you tell them how it makes you feel, they're able to connect with that emotion.
Yes.
And then that's what brings them to their senses. And that's what'll bring the change.
And that's a heart issue. Because like you said, someone who doesn't want to change, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
But when you love someone and you're trying to give your best and you want to be better for them, then you take that to heart, and that's where the change comes.
Yeah, that's good. And speaking of when the change comes, so because I know one of the things, and you all mentioned this because you all counsel couples, what happens if, you both know that, okay, there's some stuff we'd have to resolve. And one wants to go to counseling and the other one doesn't. What words of wisdom can you provide to help them come together on that?
First, we always recommend and encourage individual counseling first. Individual counseling, because self-care has to always be, first and foremost. It just has to be important to everybody, self-care. So go and get individual counseling first, okay? Because in that, you're able to self-reflect. You're able to do a self-analysis of who you are in the middle of what's going on. In the interim, you've got to first invite your spouse, encourage your spouse. And if they're, just dead set on not going, then you don't quit the process. I always recommend that you still go. When we went to counseling, and I don't know if counselors do this, but this is what happened. This is what happened to us. We were counseling with Pastor Anthony Tony Moore. And I was by myself when I went the first few times. And then he asked me, well, where is Rick? What's his phone number? That's Pastor Tony. He's bold like that. What's his phone number? I gave him the work number, gave him the cell number. And I'm sure and then he reached out to him.
Yeah.
And so that brought Rick in. So sometimes it may not come from me. It may not come from whichever spouse that's doing the work right now, that's wanting this bad enough or worse than the other one. It may come from an outside source. Maybe the counselor can reach out to your spouse, or maybe your pastor can reach out to your spouse if they don't want to go, but you can't make them go. And so that is a fight that you cannot fight, but you can take it to prayer.
Get whatever it is that God has for you. Get that.
Yeah.
And like I said, let God handle the rest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because often, and even thinking about, I do a lot of mindset work with people. And one of the thought models that, I use is there's a circumstance, there's a thought about the circumstance, and the thought is what creates the feeling. The circumstance doesn't create the feeling. The bad finances are bad finances. I'm just going to say bad finances. But there's a thought about that. Like, I thought I need security in this. I thought I was going to be secure in this relationship when I got married, and I'm not. And that makes me feel doubtful. That makes me feel fearful. You know what I'm saying? So the thought about the issue is what causes the feeling.
Right.
And so I know that counseling and prayer can help change your thoughts, because even if the circumstance doesn't change, you can change. Like, and when we talk about prayer, when you pray, you can't change anything in prayer, but God changes you, and He can also change that situation or that person, but you can't.
That's key.
We can begin to change our thoughts. And so it's like, okay, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat this because I'm not married, so you all will have to attest to what I'm saying makes sense. is this person keeps doing this thing keeps happening in this relationship, but I want my relationship. So how do I have to think about things in order to change this feeling that I might have, whether it's consternation, fear, doubt, unworthiness, whatever, all these fears, emotions. What do I need to do? Well, we have to change our thoughts and who we are.
Right.
And then see the change occur around us. That is usually
right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's real good.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. I'm going to veer a little bit from that. Okay. You guys have been married basically 20 years.
Yeah.
And the people want to know, what are the keys to a successful marriage? And I'm sure we probably talked about some of it along the way here, but what are some things that engaged people, new marriage, newlyweds, 7-year itch people and beyond, lifers. What are some keys to having a successful relationship? And one of the things that I just thought about is, I guess you have to determine what is successful for your relationship. I guess that might be the first thing you have to do. But what are some keys?
Rick mentioned one of them earlier, thinking more highly of your spouse than you do yourself. That's scripture. Being an excellent listener. We said talking and connecting, but being an excellent listener makes for a successful relationship. Honesty, being honest. Because this is a safe place, then you should be able to be honest about everything. Not ashamed about anything, but be honest. Being merciful. Not being one to want to crucify your spouse for everything they do, or keep crucifying them for the same thing. Be merciful. Jesus went to the cross once. So we can't keep putting our spouses on, the cross. Being slow to anger, being respectful, definitely being a prayer warrior in your house. Self-care, being equally yoked. What else?
And for me, one of the bigger ones is having a servant's heart. Be willing to serve and expect nothing in return.
Powerful. Ooh, can we talk about that? Go ahead.
Yes. Y'all have said a couple of things I want to talk about. Yes, go ahead.
When you love someone and you want your relationship to work, you have to be willing to do the little thing and not expecting to be thanked for it. I mean, you're in this together. So, if you're doing something to benefit your spouse, it's going to benefit you as well. But I know I try to do things that's going to relieve as much burden off my wife as I possibly can. Sometimes I need to get up and go to the store in the middle of the night. Sometimes she just wants something, and I'll be willing to go get it for her. I do that because I love her. And I don't want her to go out at night, for one. It's not safe out there. But I just love her. And then I come home and I'm just doing my thing. Now, I'm not looking for anything in return, but things come back to me. Things come back to me. But anyway, yeah, you just have to be willing to be a servant to your spouse.
They come back.
Yeah. In some form or fashion.
Get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Now, Darlene, although I know this is important, but for some reason, I didn't expect this to be part of your answer. You said self-care. What did you mean by that?
If I'm not taking care of me, my body, my mind, my soul and spirit, then I am no good to this man or my child. Then I will not be able to serve them. I would consider that almost as, I'm trying to be careful with my words, but how can I love them? I can love them, but I won't be present, bottom line. Why? Because I'm going to be broke down, sick, depressed, oppressed, whatever, if I don't do self-care. So when I take care of me, I'm better able to love them and serve them. You understand? Enjoy them and be there for them like I want to be as a wife and a mother.
That's good. That's good. That whole being present. That's key. I love that.
Yeah.
How can you really be present and fully enjoy your people if you are broken down? Now, Richard, how do men? I know you don't hear a lot of men talk about self-care, self-care, self-care. I mean, you mostly hear women talk about that, but men need it too, right?
Well, we might not use that that wordage.
Okay.
But yes, we do. We have a way of taking care of ourselves. Like I have to get out, maybe go play some golf every once in a while. Just do things that relaxes me. Like I said, as much as I love to be with her, we also have to love to be apart every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. There's
And,
nothing wrong with it.
yeah. And after makes the heart grow fonder too. So
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's a key too, is maintaining who you are, like maintaining who you are, that your individuality, you are interdependent, obviously, because you're married, but you are still you are still a person.
Yes.
And so if you have hobbies that you love separately, things that you enjoy doing, you can do those things. It makes it even sweeter when you come together because you're still happy. You're happy. You're a joyful individual who can then come together with your spouse, and you share that joy, that happiness, all of that spread.
That's what dating was like. That's why it's important when you're married now to basically keep up some of the same practices you did when you were dating. When you were dating, you lived, you know, in different places and you came together. So you had an opportunity to miss one another. You know, you had to wait for your spouse to come and pick you up and we go do whatever. In marriage, we have to plan things, but do things together. You know what I'm saying? To keep us, to keep the spice in the relationship, but yeah, you've got to do some of those same things you did together.
So let's talk about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
Or him.
Oh no, I just had a thought when she was saying that because like not too long ago she went to the driving range with me and she actually hit a couple balls. Now, I've been trying to get her, out on the driving range for a while, and she continuously turned me down. But this one day she surprised me and she went out there, swung the clubs, and actually made some pretty good strikes on the ball. And I was impressed. Now she left there, don't want to go back, but hey.
Well, I'm gonna need to get me a little outfit, a cute little outfit.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Hold the cart down for her.
Okay, whatever it takes. Look, sometimes I think it is that, and that's cool because that's where I really want to go next is like how to keep it, what did I say? Like fresh, sexy, spicy. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things you can do? And I think even partaking of one of your spouse's favorite things with them, not to say you have to be out there all the time with them, not at all, right. but at least every now and then surprising them, right? That keeps it fresh. Like surprising them, like, yes, boo, yes, I want to go with you. And yes, I'm going to be really cute. And that's kind of, seems like that could be kind of fun.
Well, as you just saw, I mean, you brought up a subject, and the first picture that came to my mind was my wife out there hitting golf balls, which really uplifted me.
Yeah. He was excited about that.
Yeah. Now, going every time, that might be a little issue right there. But, like I said, that.
He don't want me out there all the time. I don't want to be there. But listen, one of the things Pastor Garman says to the couples, and I love that he said this, is that we should learn to like the things that our spouse loves. Right?
Mm-hmm. Somebody put
like
that
the things that they love.
Yes, I'm sorry, Darlene. Somebody put that in the comment section. This is for Pastor Garman, and Pastor Garman is our pastor. Is learn to like the things that your spouse loves.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's another form of support. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to love it. He said like it at least enough to just participate with them in it every now and then. Why? Mm-hmm. Because that means something to them. You know what I'm saying? And then it shows them that you care. It shows them that, they matter to you in the moment. Be in the moment with them,
Yeah.
at times that, they're not favorable to yourself, to you.
Yeah.
And these
That's
things keep
that's
you
love.
things like that keep you connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what are some other things that couples can do to keep it spicy, keep it hot, keep it sexy, keep it fresh?
Be spontaneous.
Flirt.
Oh yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Flirt.
all the time.
Flirting begins as soon as you wake up in the morning. After you say, "Good morning, God, I love you," and pray or whatever, then roll over to your spouse, kiss him, touch him. They
Yeah,
call it fill him up,
quite
whatever.
quite often I don't even wait for her to wake up. I mean, I start flirting before she even wakes up. So
Yeah. All the stuff you did when you were dating, because we did these things when we were dating, it came easy.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're a little bit more challenging to us. Why? Because we have a whole lot of other things that we're dealing with. We got finances, children, work. You understand, family members sick. You understand, life happening, the world is happening around us. So there's so much more that we're taking in mentally and emotionally. You
Mm-hmm.
understand that we allow to overtake, you understand, well, to take over our thoughts about our spouse, which we've got to be in better control of that. We've got to really make conscious efforts to do things with our spouses.
yeah, check what you have prioritized. 'Cause quite often we put too many things outside the house ahead of what's
Mm-hmm.
inside our house.
Yeah.
Mm. That's good. That's
And a lot
good.
of people, sometimes you're not even aware that you're doing it because it's so routine,
Yes.
even though it's mundane, our day-to-day daily activities. But we don't even realize that our spouse is missing us.
Yeah.
Why? Because they know it's some things
Mm-hmm.
that we have to do. You know what I'm saying? Even with kids, sometimes mothers can be so consumed in the activities, from when the kids get home from school to bedtime, that they are exhausted. You understand, when it comes time to spending time with the spouse. Now they're dead to the world because they done fed the kids and done cooked, even did some cleaning, gave baths, did homework. You understand what I'm saying? And now when it's time to be intimate with their spouse, and intimacy doesn't necessarily mean having sex, but just when you're just cozying up together and just chilling with each other, but then you fall asleep. Mm,
And and sometimes the father can be so involved with the kids, cooking and cleaning and doing other things that they just wear themselves out. They don't have any time for their wives. You know,
that's right, honey. That's right. Him, her, whomever. There isn't a gender thing to that. It really isn't. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you've got to do things. You know what I'm saying? So, um, even if it comes to um, working in the yard together, you know, doing things together, or making something happen that your spouse will enjoy. Rick came home this weekend. His birthday was Sunday, Valentine's Day. Y'all already know that. But we've been together so long, and this shouldn't be, but this is our truth, that we always go out to dinner. But I took it to another level this year, and I had the house decorated, balloons everywhere, did chocolate covered strawberries myself, cards and gifts, and he was so surprised. And when I tell you, it was just the way he was looking at me. Now, I got just as much out of it doing it, you know, as he did, I believe, receiving it. But that meant the world to me to see him light up like that. You know what I'm saying? So, we have to do these things. Cooking dinners that are not the same old, doing something different, surprising them with something that they just like. I don't really like salmon, but I'll get it for him. That goes a long way. You know what I'm saying? Dressing. Now, this is personal, but the man likes to see me in just a t-shirt, so I do it. I like being in pajamas and pajamas and sweats or pajamas and socks. But men are visual. You know what I'm saying? And knowing this, I know what he likes. Then I have a responsibility to make it happen.
I was gonna ask that question about,
Okay.
yeah, I was gonna ask that about kind of keeping yourself together. And it doesn't mean that size wise or whatever, I'm not talking about that, but just how you appear around your home. And some people might be like, that's too much work, honey. I don't have time for that. I don't want to do that. But I think you just answered that question because I was gonna ask it.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, she mentioned the chocolate strawberries and how it lit up. I was thinking more so what we could do with that chocolate that was left over. But that's yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I got.
Come on now, Richard. I know that's right, Richard. Handle your business, Richard.
Hey, ho. But you got to keep it spicy. Spicy
right.
may mean to some going for walks together. But together is the key. And let me tell you, don't wait until you get old to start becoming companions. Don't wait until you get old to start becoming companions. Do that now. Okay? Do that now. You know what your spouse likes. You know what turns them on. You know what you like. But let me say this. There's some things that you don't do. Like, I'm not going to walk in front of him with the t-shirt on while he's watching the game. That don't work for him. He watching the game. That's important. So he will love me more in that moment if I just stay over there and not try to, turn him on or whatever. That becomes a distraction. So you got to know when to do these things and when not to.
Well, we do have halftime.
Yeah. I'll wait till
Right.
halftime.
And when that and come on, people, and this is on both sides, male and female. Don't get offended if since we use this example, if your man is watching the game and you trying to turn him on, or you feel like he should be paying attention to you or whatever, don't, because that's his thing. Like, don't try to impose on their thing.
That's
okay.
Right.
If for me, it would be watching a Hallmark movie. Don't try to impose on my Hallmark movie.
There you go.
Or an Avengers movie, or Marvel. Don't do that.
Be considerate. Be considerate. That's called wisdom.
Yes. Yes. Have wisdom. Have wisdom.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, excuse me, is basically every marriage looks different. And we know this, what works in one marriage is not going to work for another. But there are some basic tenets. And I love that a lot of the keys that you gave are really simple. They're simple things, but they're more internal. Like, it's not like, draw a bath for them every night. It's not that kind of thing. It's really the heart. It all goes back to the heart, as Brother Richard said earlier.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about keeping it spicy, and I know that we could probably have just a whole show on that, like, for real. But I know that there are some specific things you can do, some ideas, like if you need some creativity. But really, the main thing is, what does that person enjoy?
Right.
Learning to like what they love.
Yeah.
Becoming their companion early on in the relationship, not when you get older and are empty nesters. Like, don't wait then, because a lot of times it may feel too late, because it's like you let all these years go by and you're like,
yeah,
oh, it's just me and you now. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
How are we gonna be? I don't even know you like that.
Yeah.
Because you may have spent all those formative years of your child's life doing everything for them.
Right.
But it's really important to keep your relationship alive, even in the midst of feeding babies and getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And we know there may be seasons, right? There may be seasons of where your attention has to be drawn to different things. But
let me add this.
Yes.
Many, and I'm gonna speak for women, but it's not a gender thing. It really isn't. But I'm gonna talk about me. I gained weight over the last few years. I'm not the size I was when we were dating. I'm not. But my husband is still attracted to me. Big belly and all, fat cheeks and all, gray hair and all. He is still attracted to me. I am still attractive to him and vice versa. What's important is who you are to your spouse. Men, yes, they are visual beings. They are. Women, we are, we like to hear love. And we're emotional. Not that men aren't, but men are visual. But what's so profound to me in this relationship is that he loves me just the way I am. Love making did not change when I gained weight. The weight gain didn't make him feel like, the marriage vows are null and void now. I'm saying this because a lot of women deal with um, a lack of intimacy and a lack of physical attraction from their spouses because they gain weight. That is so superficial. It's from a place that men who are doing that to these women need to put in check. When you love somebody, you love them. I am basically the same Darlene I was in 1997, 96 when he first met me.
No, you definitely
97 when we hooked up.
You better. You better.
Yeah, thank you. But the key to marriage being successful is not forgetting that you love the person, not the package. Yes, that's important, but you love the person. So even if they do change physically, if my hair fell out, I believe this man will still love me.
Just be twins.
And I just and and I say this because I don't know, just something is leading me to go here. But I want couples to really look at marriage as more than just, some little, simple thing we get involved in. And, it looks good on paper and it sounds good when we're talking about it to other people, but you're in it because you love somebody and because of that companionship thing and because you're going to raise kids together. You understand? And these kids are going to be little you and hims until they become their own individual selves. But marriage is so serious and it is doable. Marriage is doable. So deal with the forgiveness factor of it, deal with that mercy thing, deal with that honesty thing, live in these places because these things are going to become necessary because your relationship is going to have highs and lows. They're going to have highs and lows, and they're supposed to. You and your spouse are different. One of you is laid back, and another of you is kind of high strung. But there's a balance to that. And when you accept that there's a balance to you being different like that, yet compatible, you'll make it. Your marriage will thrive because you will be wise enough and mature enough to understand he or she is not supposed to be exactly like me. If both of you all were the same, one of you will be obsolete. And that's not the will of God. Jocelyn said that we're interdependent upon each other. We are. But marriage, again, I have to stress that it's doable. You can do it. You can do marriage. You can do love. You can be patient, you can be kind, you can be generous. You understand? But do it. Just do it. Stick it out.
It does get easier as time goes on.
It does.
When you learn yourself and you learn your spouse, things just really just start clicking. We become accepting of who you are and who your spouse is. It clicks. When you let that little stuff go, that really doesn't mean that much anyways, it clicks. When you think more highly of your spouse than you do yourself, it clicks. Bless you.
Excuse me.
So, like I said, it's doable. You go through some rough times, especially at the beginning, a little bit in the middle. But like I said, the more you keep pushing, the easier it is.
That is so good. You know, I had some other stuff I was going to talk about, but I almost feel like we just need to stop right there. I tell you. No, that was really, really, yeah. There you have it, people. With that mercy, it's mercy. What did you say? Okay, thinking more highly of your spouse than yourself, being an excellent listener, being honest, being merciful, being respectful, being slow to anger, being a prayer warrior, and really keeping your marriage before God.
Yes.
Self-care, being equally yoked, which we didn't even get to. Having a servant's heart, which I loved that. Being willing to serve and not expecting anything back. Keep up the same practices or even more of the things that you did when you were dating to attract a person and to get that person and to get them, you know, for you all to come together. Keep those same practices in place. Just really practicing forgiveness. And once again, that's a whole nother topic. But allowing yourself to forgive, because the forgiveness is for you, not even necessarily for the other person.
That's right.
I loved that you got really real about, Darlene, just even appearance and continuing to love yourself. Because the thing in that, because what so often happens is we start to feel bad about ourselves and then we project that onto the other person. Mm. Now that person may have thoughts about it, but we may exacerbate those thoughts, or maybe they don't. They may be like, "Baby, you look good. I don't care what, you know." But because we feel some kind of way,
right?
Then we start to pull back. But we're saying they're pulling back, and so it's just being careful not to project to. And I just think this is just in general, not even about body image or anything like that. Yeah. But just being careful not to project your own thoughts and feelings onto the other person. Don't ascribe it to them if it's not them.
Yeah.
And believe them. I used to do that, Jocelyn.
Okay.
I used to do just that. And Rick was constantly telling me, "Babe, you look fine. You look fine. There's nothing wrong with you. I love you." And he'd be touching my stomach. I'd be moving his arm, and because I was self-conscious, and so it has to come a point in your life, in your mind, that you decide, I am enough. He's still here. He's still loving me. He's still doing. You understand? Yeah. You have to decide that I am enough and that I am worthy.
Yeah.
And you said it, Jocelyn, you got to love yourself. And I never thought of it that way, that I wasn't loving myself, but I guess I wasn't, because I was so down on myself and hard on myself. And don't get me wrong, we should strive to do better, to be healthy,
exactly.
You understand? But there's nothing more sexy to a man, I believe, than a confident woman.
Yeah.
There's a difference in being confident versus being arrogant.
Yeah.
But a confident woman turns a man on. I mean, I've seen some girls bigger than I am, and honey, they got men and looking at them, and the man is attracted to them.
Yeah.
My man is attracted to me. Your man should be attracted to you, but it starts with you.
Yeah.
Girl, say that again.
I'm just saying.
And I feel like, honestly, like even for a woman wants a confidence is attractive in a man as well, too. So I know that there are certain things that, whereas men appear to be, because I can't read a man's mind, less concerned about like physical, they can get
Right.
I'm still a man, but there may be other things that may affect their confidence that are different from women. But I feel like for women, you want your man to be sure of himself and all of that as well too. So it really does work both ways.
It goes both ways.
We're just more verbal about that.
Yes.
Right. We are.
Yeah. And the other thing I thought about too is, I don't know if we talked about this in the last couple of days, is really not knowing that your spouse can't read your mind. Right? That your partner can't read your mind. Like you think you maybe think, well, you should know that. That's what I need. But we can't expect it. Like if we can't read
you got to tell them no. But we go into marriage really believing that. It's like it's an automatic expectation that they should know.
Yeah.
They don't know, men or women.
Yeah.
We don't know unless you tell us.
Yeah.
That's why you got to constantly talk. Communication is one of the, big areas of failure in relationships. And a lot of people think that we don't communicate. We don't communicate. You communicate well. Let me give you some examples of what communication looks like, especially in conflict. When you're sleeping in the next bedroom, you're communicating. When you're sleeping in separate bedrooms, you're communicating. Giving your spouse the silent treatment, you're communicating. Not cooking because you're mad, you're communicating. Withholding sex, you're definitely communicating.
Saying it loud and clear.
Rolling your eyes, facial expressions, you're communicating. Okay? So you got to think that if I don't tell my spouse that he just hurt my feelings, how is he going to not do it again? How is he going to know unless you tell him? So you've got to talk. Talking can be done over dinner. Talking can be done in the bed before you all actually go to sleep. Lay there for a little while and talk. We call, when we pull up in the driveway into the garage and we sit there with the music playing or not, and we'll stop in that. We call it intimate moments. An intimate moment for us could be right there in the garage, and we'll start talking about whatever. Okay, an intimate moment could be just sitting on the patio in our backyard, just us two, and we'll strike up a conversation. It can be about anything. This doesn't have to be about, an intimate conversation about romance. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can be about life, stuff that we need to discuss, but you got to have these discussions. You got to talk. That can bring so much longevity to your relationship. And a lot of people don't do that. Why? And it causes you not to know each other. It's a vehicle to help you really get to know each other and learn each other, which would slow down conflict, which would lessen it.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's good. That's key. And I'm glad that we've talked about intimacy a little bit, but I'm glad that you brought that out about intimacy is actually not just sex. It is those special times. It is just those key times that you choose to spend together to foster something. Because we know when there's true intimacy, ideas are birthed, healing occurs, you get closer to one another. It just breeds well-being in the relationship. And so that is so important. And I'm glad that you.
Like I said before, that's how you learn to support your spouse in moments like that.
Yeah.
That's when you're learning what's on their heart and on their minds.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing, Jocelyn?
Yes.
Y'all, let me say this to you. When it comes to being intimate and being keeping it sexy. I want you to think about a relationship that's dealing with infidelity. Think about what the other person is doing. Usually the other woman is everything that you're not. She's doing everything that you're not doing. That means she ain't fussing and cussing. She's listening to him. She's so attentive. She tells him he smells good. He looks good. She touches him, you know, her hand is on his leg or on his shoulder. And this could just be at work. She's in the moment. Everything is about him. Same thing with the man. He is supportive. He offered to go put some gas in your car. He listens to you. He understands. You know, he's trying to help you understand, or she's trying to help you understand your spouse. They're there in the moment. They're being what you need them to be. And that's when infidelity slips right on through the cracks, because everything that you are not doing, they are doing. I just want you to think about that. So it should help you be more mindful about how you're loving your spouse. Are you keeping them first? Are you being everything that they need you to be? You're not there to make them happy. You can't make them happy. But you can do a lot of things, you understand, that can make things great for them, that can result in happiness. Joy comes from the Lord. And that's an individual thing that we have to obtain on our own. Okay? But I need you to just use those examples of what the other woman would be doing, and look at what you're not doing and do better.
Well, I didn't see that one coming, but no, that's good. That's good. And I think, we've had multiple conversations, but I know that this conversation has been good just from the standpoint of realizing that marriage is not a fairy tale. And my voice went up, kind of like question, but it can be great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in the fairy tale, it's like, oh, they lived happily ever after. Actually, you can live happily ever after. But the thing is that there's going to be things that occur in the relationship that you're not going to like, that are not going to be fun. You are helping to shape and mold one another. So there are going to be things that, you are dealing with. And some things you may not even have to deal with until you've been married for a while. It seemed like it's something like out of the blue. So I wanted to have this conversation because I wanted to encourage couples to, first of all, stick in there. And I know that, marriage is foundational to community and homes and all of that. And I wanted people to have a place where they could come and hear some realness about love in marriage and maintaining love and understanding what love looks like and feels like. And so that's why I really wanted to have this conversation.
You're right. Marriage is not a fairy tale, but marriage is work. It's work with great benefits. You got to put the work in.
Yeah. Yep. I like that. Once again, I have 1,000 more questions. I really do. I really do. I really do. I want to do a round robin, but we don't even have time. It's already over an hour, and I'm trying to promise myself not to go too far over an hour.
Amen.
But I do want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your realness. Thank you I just feel the love, coming through even this broadcast that you have for one another, but for people as well, and for couples as well. And I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask not related to marriage. But before I get to that, how can people reach you all if they want to be in your world, in your universe, if they want to reach out to you for counseling? Or I know that you all do marriage enrichment on a monthly basis, what else can they do to reach you?
You can reach us through the church, the marriage ministry line, the Sacred Love Marriage Ministry line. Leave us a voicemail with the church, and that number we'll put in the comments. You can also reach us on Facebook. You can messenger. You can call ourselves. We avail ourselves to couples that are hurting, to couples that just needs to brush up on some things and feel like they just want to, touch base. You understand? Somebody did it for us. We had some awesome counselors and facilitators in the Radical Love class that to this day we could reach out to if we needed to.
Yeah.
And so that's who we are. So call us on our cells. We'll put our cell numbers in the comments for you. But do reach out. Just don't burn up in the fire. Just go through it and we'll help you.
And when is the next marriage? I'm sorry.
On Facebook, you can hit us up on Sacred Love Marriage Ministry.
Somebody put that in the comments. Somebody put that in the comment section. Sacred Love Marriage Ministry. They have a Facebook page, so that's great. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
And the group page, Sacred Love, Love Grows Here.
Sacred Love. So there's a page, a Facebook page, which is Sacred Love Marriage Ministry, and then there's a group
page,
a private group. Oh, good. Okay, and that's Sacred Love.
Love Grows Here.
Love Grows Here. Okay, yeah. Somebody put that in the comment section for us. I definitely recommend you reach out to them. Now, when is the next marriage enrichment class?
February the 20th, Saturday, February the 20th at 7:00 p.m. Be on Facebook Live.
Okay, and so we'll put that in the chat as well.
Yes.
For you all. And once again, I'm going to say, people, if you are married, look, you don't even have to have a problem to get counseling. Like, I know there's some couples that do it just to make sure they stay fresh.
Yes.
That's another way to stay fresh, that they keep it fresh and just make sure that there's nothing lurking that may try to, raise its head. But you can even go without there being an issue that you just want to make sure you staying good.
Yeah.
So you can reach out to them. Yeah, you can reach out to them for that as well.
Just like people need to have accountability partners, it's always good to reach out, have an accountability couple as well. So yes.
That's another key. We could talk for 2 hours.
I know.
2 hours more and more than that. Okay, so here are my questions. So this is February. It's Black History Month. And I have 2 questions for you. One is not necessarily related to Black history, but so my first question is, Bishop Brown used to always say, we become who we are by the people we meet in our lives, the books we read, and the experiences we have. And so I'm a book reader. I love a good book. What is one book? This is for both of you to answer separately. Is there a book that you're reading currently, or is there, and you can decide on which one of these you want to answer, or is there a good book on marriage that you recommend, since we're talking about love in marriage?
We recommend the 5 love languages.
This is together.
Oh, this is again. Okay, this is together answer. All right. Okay, I'll take it. Okay.
The 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, because that book is an eye opener, especially for those before you get married and right after you get married and all through your marriage. When you learn those 5 love languages and figure out which one is you, it's kind of smooth sailing. It'll help I recommend that to everybody.
Okay.
By Gary Chapman. Mm-hmm.
It is a good book. I mean, I've read it too,
because
it helps in not just marriage relationships, but just in your relationships, period. So the 5 love languages, somebody put that in the chat for us as well, or one of us will put it in there later.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So now it's Black History Month. I'm not going to even say famous. What African-American would you want to spend dinner with, or like if you had a couple of hours to spend with them, who would it be, living or dead?
Me personally, I have really developed a fondness and a wanting to know more about John Lewis.
Yeah.
growing up north, I don't recall really ever hearing anything about him. It wasn't until I moved down here to Atlanta that I, started hearing his name, and I have, recently learned more about him. But he has really fascinated me.
Yeah. Yeah, he was awesome.
Hmm.
D.
I would love to sit with Maya Angelou.
Okay.
Lou.
And why?
She is so profound on, I mean, the nuggets she drops, the wisdom that she has. And she seems to be a person who could mentor and pour into me, that I could just really connect with and learn from.
Yeah.
I would just love to sit at her feet and just let her feel me.
Yeah.
I want to be empty, but I will come away full.
Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly, I could see the intonations of your voice, how you speak. I feel like there's a similarity now that you mentioned her name. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, thank you so much.
You're not gonna tell us yours?
Rick and Darlene. No, you have to wait. You have to watch the last one to hear. I guess I didn't think about that. I could have given one each week. But look, for real, thank you so much for
Thank
being here. I just love this. I appreciate you all. I appreciate your love. And I just pray that your ministry, your business, your ministry is just blessed.
Thank you.
By just, just the way you pour out. So I just pray that it is blessed and fruitful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, if you have any questions for Rick and Darlene, we'll make sure their contact information is in the comment section. So please reach out to them. Please check out Marriage Enrichment. Please go and join the Sacred Love Marriage Ministry Facebook page and their group, and be, like they talked about, have someone that you can be accountable to. There are other couples there. Even if it's not Rick and Darlene you end up talking to, it may be someone else you meet who really, who you really connect with. And so I just thank you guys. That is a wrap for this week. Look, I am wishing for so much love for if you're married, for your marriages. If you are single and desire to be married, I do pray that, you are blessed with the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
And if you are in the process, if you're engaged and on your way to the altar, I pray that you all really bond together in truth, and that you let truth be your guide. As love is a given, but that you really are open with each other about your desires, your hurts, things that you want for your future, for your lives together, and just maintain that connection. And so that is my desire for you. And so I just thank you for watching. I thank you for being here. And I'm going to call it a night. Everybody be blessed. It's your girl, Jocelyn Harrison, with Navigating Now. Peace. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.